So probably the primary work that I did, because give me a summer crossing of the Mediterranean in July, oh my goodness. If you're making 6 knots and you've got 6 knots of tailwind, you sit in a cloud of smoke for 2 weeks, it's horrific. But generally I do out of season crossings because otherwise I'd die of boredom. So the particular job at hand is the delivery of a 50-foot, a good, very light boat. It's very good for racing, they're very fast, but like for downwind and a force 10 in January in the Northern Atlantic, not the best boat necessarily, which is exactly the job in hand. So 2 couples have done the Ark in their 50-foot baby. They're Swedish, and in the Baltic it's mainly obviously they have weather, but it's fairly small seas, so there's not an ocean fetch, so they've massively messed with the rig. That was one of the problems I had. Okay, so the job is from Martinique in Gothenburg originally in December and January, and obviously most people don't do these sort of crossings this time of year. It's mental, but they want it back for the spring, so the contract is available. The reason I take these jobs, like in my conscience, which is very important to me, is simply the job is happening whether I take it or not. The people on board are, generally speaking, almost definitely better in my hands and safer. So in my conscience, it's acceptable to take people into risk if they are fully briefed into the situation in which they are entering. So I had 3 crew, and at this time I had on paper an extremely strong crew. However, realities are different to CVs. So I had 3 people, a couple, older crew. Chris is an ex-nuclear plant safety manager in Germany, or French, because he is German, she is French. Okay, so they're coming as a couple. They're looking to take a career, as often people do at that sort of age, and they're chosen because they're sailors, and he's a proper sailor, right? So they're coming with me to learn heavy weather sailing at sea. That's why they're there. You can get that training through a school by going out with some perfect design 60-foot training boat with 15 people on board, but you're not learning the same thing, because that is not the work you will be doing when you're working and encounter these situations. So whilst all heavy weather is valuable, it's completely irrelevant to what you intend to do. And Chris has done, I believe, 3 further trips. It's very common if they're learning, which if they're with me, they will be doing so. The time is good. He also did a catamaran trip across the Med to learn that route and the use of catamaran basics and a large number of things. But so we had the couple. She had good sailing experience. She had more helming experience than he, and these personal manual skills are basically crucial, you can imagine. And then we had a 3rd crew, Ian, about 50 or so. There's always one. He was a barrister. So I had 3 crew, and on paper we're strong as, because one's got Ian had the ocean thing, which is of no value at all in the real world. You can get that without knowing a damn thing. So we set off from Martinique, and we set sail. I'm taking a very low latitude because it's the middle of the winter and storms are serious, and it's not a very, it's a boat you can handle. But because it's somebody's personal, like it was 15 radiators for heating, yeah, but a sea anchor, no chance. So the boat in heavy weather simply cannot be hove to with that whole configuration and rig. They completely changed the rig. It's madness, basically. But so basically you have to helm it out, probably downwind, and you need to know what you're doing. So I need people to helm. Odile could helm reasonably decently, and later was expert because they sailed as a couple, as a working mainly in the USA. The Americans do almost none of their own sailing offshore, full stop. It's all English and French for a reason. They have the inshore waterway, inland waterway. And the reason they're there is to learn the skills for exactly the situation that they are taking themselves into is why they are there. And I'm the expert basically. I'm not there to teach them, I'm there to earn some money by delivering the boat. Simple as that. I use them, they use me. They're lucky because they got me that actually does teach you. That is not normal, full stop. I can tell you that straight away. So miraculously I'm not actually getting any better. Funny that. So I've had to take extra morphine. So if the story goes a bit funny, you will know why to it. Now the reason I'm taking people from England is we were in Martinique for 3 days, during which time they were on absolute surveillance at all times, because if I take crew from local, particularly if they're from that area, their capacity to basically load your boat with half a ton of cocaine is extremely easy, and you will not know. On a 50-foot sailing boat, you can hide anything. You will never know. I just can't tell you how many times or ways that I could do it. When he bursts cry, he's not showing me that he's necessarily in the right place in himself at that time to be doing that voyage. However, he wished to do it anyway, and I would have to get like a random local. You're extremely vulnerable. I was the first boat into the UK across the Atlantic that year, and we came we Torquay, and the customs followed us in, and we were searched to the absolute maximum. Amusingly, my barrister was a police investigator, barrister, yeah, so it was funny then. However, it's a major issue. You simply, it's 25 years, or there's some guys in Gibraltar that still in prison there. He was inside the life raft. Imagine that if they needed the life raft. So by preference I took him. However, it was obvious that the issue is fear. The second one he sued, they were on the north coast of Cornwall, couldn't weather in 6 or something around a headland. He was scared for 3 minutes, and his response is to sue them and try to help. I had other options. However, people giving me their time, I give them my time. But when they set sail, they're in my duty of care, absolutely. Who else is going to look after them in the middle of the ocean in January in a major storm? It's me, right? So basically, in all my times, I've forgotten, basically. Nobody's died, nobody's lost overboard, nobody's fallen, nobody's had a broken bone, apart from, I think, one person, no, it was me. Okay, apart from me, nobody's had a broken bone, because I take all the risks. I'm a heart of damage. But other people, it's absolutely never happened. A story will come later, no doubt. So I've taken them with them. However, the problem here is Odile is older, medications interacting. This meant that she did not recover from seasickness. This is a medical emergency, as it became, because normally you suffer seasickness for 3 days. After that you're stable and everything, but of course, like, we're crossing the Atlantic already. So what happens is you're drawn into the situation. So the situation developed progressively, but Odile, after day 7, was effectively off the crew at that point. This is me starting to move into the weather zone. So now I've got a problem, because Odile was solid. Solid. Chris needed no supervision and could help no problem. Ian was completely worthless, 100%. The problem is fear. And what I need from people, it doesn't matter whether you're 16 or 60, I need adults at work, learning and applying skills. It's called sailing, basically. So basically, a medical emergency may develop, was my judgment at this time, and I made full contact. Obviously, I had a good satellite phone at the time. Not my worst case, but a case covered. Chris needed no training whatsoever as far as at helms when he was A1. A very rare skill nowadays, simple as that. Whereas Ian was of no use and simply couldn't steer. He'd never learned. Most people cannot steer. I reckon the strike rate is normally maybe 1 in 4 maximum, and they're normally dinghy sailors. I needed him to steer. The situation was deteriorating. 2 is not enough. I can't be awake all day. If Chris was injured, or worse than myself, which would have been catastrophic. It's never happened. It will never happen. So I needed a third person. I have no reserve or fallback whatsoever. He was absolutely useless. He was afraid, and that's absolutely fine. But he reverted into child's retreat behavior in a very heavy degree. But one time, it was blowing, it was force 9. The boat was surfing downwind, and he could like Sunday roast, and like got us to sit at the table and try to set the table. And the whole lot just ended up down the bilges somewhere. He completely lost all referencing with his situation. But the thing is, it's fine because I was looking after him from the first day, as I do everybody, simple as that. They were in my duty of care in all ways, and all my skills, not just the ones they asked for. They were given all of them. It's my duty, isn't it? And it's yours as well. So I needed him to helm, so basically I told him, I terrorized him deliberately. Eventually there was no option. I needed him to function, but he was more worried about that than he was the storm, which is what I had to do, and I do it to you without a second thought, I can tell you. So he did learn to steer, basically. I told him to learn to steer or die trying. He kept trying to sue me constantly. I said, yeah, you can sue me when you get there, but you'll learn to steer or die trying, and I mean now, and I meant it. But he did learn. It was the only way he could have learned at the time. So I invested a colossal amount of effort in that person. But it was okay in the end, but not really. When we came within helicopter range of the Azores, the warship, the sea state was absolutely colossal with 3 major crossing swells, and we communal. There's only me and Chris were in the equation at this point. Odile was severely ill; she was dying on me. So our judgment was it was too difficult it was just too dangerous. She was too weak, and it was not the right choice, not in those conditions. There was no possibility of me stopping the boat. It was part I could not do in the sea state. I had to sail out. So we did, and we actually came into the, if we'd have been helicoptered, it would actually have only stayed about 6 hours or something, so I sailed her in. She was obviously immediately in hospital. Chris will take over the rest of the story on that, no doubt. But it's extremely lucky that she died at that time.